Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm out in the garage today working on installing a new switch panel that I got from AUXBEAM on my 2023 XMR. And initially I wasn't going to do this install video because first off, there's lots of videos out there already showing how to install these panels. They're really straightforward and simple to install. But what I was having difficulty finding as I was trying to figure out how I was going to install it on an ATV was any videos out there showing people that have already done this. I was looking for ideas and how I was going to mount it and where I was going to mount it, and I just couldn't find anything. And for anyone that's tried working on these machines before, you're very limited in space on where you can install switches and fuses and relays and that kind of thing. So I found sort of a unique solution today as I was working through this, and I thought I would share it with everybody just so if you're looking for at doing something similar yourself, maybe this is a solution for you for where to mount the brain that comes with this switch panel. So just to show you what I'm talking about, the AUXBEAM switch panel that they sent me is their 8-gang RGB panel, and what this allows me to do is control up to 8 accessories, be it lights or winches, anything like that, fans, different types of things. So inside you have the switch panel itself, which is very low profile. You can surface mount this, so I'm just going to likely use two-sided 3M adhesive to install that. And then you have this relay panel, basically the brain of the system. So this needs to be mounted somewhere, and that's what I was having difficulty figuring out where I was going to mount it. Because once I got underneath here, once you get under the seat, there's not really anywhere that you can mount this and still be able to put the seat back on, especially once you put the cover on top. There's a cover that goes over top of this. And I really didn't want it to be underneath, like behind the plastics and stuff. I didn't want it to be too low. Even though this is waterproof, I didn't want it being submerged regularly if I can avoid it. And the switch panel itself, this panel here, I'm ultimately going to end up mounting right there. I thought that's a pretty good spot for it. I can still access my trip and menu buttons, but I think that's where I'm going to end up putting that. So just to give you some background, the reason that I'm installing this in the first place is because you may have seen in some of my other videos, I got a couple lights from NOVSIGHT. So they first sent me this 13.5-inch light bar here, which I love. It's a really nice bar. And then just recently they sent me their new HALOS series lights. And these are unbelievable lights. They're really cool. They light up with a amber halo around the outside edge there, or a clear halo. So you can choose either or. And then you have, this one's a flood and spot combo. So you have these two LEDs here, a flood beam and then a spot beam on the bottom. You can get it in all different patterns, fog beams, just all spot or all flood. I chose the flood and spot combo. So I needed something to control these, because what you ultimately end up having if you just use the factory wiring that they come with is multiple switches all over the place, which I didn't want. This switch here that I mounted up top here is what controls the light bar. And then with the halos, the new ones that I just received, I haven't wired them up yet because I was waiting for that AUXBEAM box, but they come with their own control module and their own switch. So this is the switch for those halos. So you have one button that controls the amber or clear halo selection, and then the other one controls the LEDs themselves, the main LEDs. And it's a really nice system and really robust system if you're using it by itself, but you end up with all this extra wiring that you have to find places for somewhere on the machine. So on the light bar, when I installed that one, so I have the switch here, which the wire runs down the side of the machine, and then coiled up here in this empty space is the relay for that, all the wiring, and then it's run to the battery. So for me now to run the halos, I would have another similar setup where I would have that module that would have to find a place to be mounted. It would also be run to the battery with a separate switch, and it just sort of becomes cumbersome and just untidy. And I was looking for something different and something that would keep for a cleaner install and make it easier down the road if I want to add anything else. I'm thinking about possibly doing rock lights, or if you wanted to do a whip or anything like that, then you have easy access to install that. So what I came up with as I was looking through the machine here, when I took the passenger, well, I sometimes use a passenger seat here or the standard box that comes with the XMR, but if you have the Max chassis, then you've got this back area here. And I was looking through the link attachment hole there, and I saw a fair bit of empty space. So I took off the 8 screws that hold this panel on here and a couple push pins. And then underneath that was a huge empty space. And I thought that would be perfect. This is the fuel tank here, your gas tank. But I thought this would be a great area because even when that top cover is on, it doesn't go down and fill this space here. So it's empty space. And with the AUXBEAM panel, it comes with this mounting bracket here. So it's meant to be installed in a vehicle, in a truck or something like that. And this panel could attach to your sidewall, inside fender of a truck, and then you mount the panel on top of it. But what I found, and I'll just try and do this if I can. So it's too big to fit in there just straight. But if you sort of jimmy it in, you can get it underneath and then spin it around. And I found that it fits perfectly right up like that and keeps it up off the gas tank. I've already pre-drilled some holes into the back here and then used some self-tapping screws, which I'll attach this bracket. And then what that's going to allow me to do is take the main control module here, the brain, and I'll sit that on top of it and it'll sit in this space perfectly. And the reason I wanted it elevated, because I was initially just going to use 3M tape and stick it right to the top of the fuel tank there. But if I do that, then the holes on the bottom of this module here are covered, right? If it was flat down against something, these are the holes that when the cover is on, so once this protective cover is back on, the wiring is designed to come out the bottom there. It's not meant to come out the sides, so you sort of need to keep it up off of the ground or off of the surface you're mounting it to, so that wiring can go down through these. So the wires are going to come into your power and ground here, and then each accessory just plugs in here, and then the wires ultimately go down and out that way. So by putting it elevated on that bracket there, it gives me lots of space to run wires down, and then there's easy access to go to the battery or to go up the front, wherever I need to go to run the accessories. So the nice thing with this AUXBEAM panel is everything is going to be run to this control module. So now I can take the relay that's here and the switch that I have up here for my light bar and get rid of those pieces completely, just cut the wires off right at the relay and just run the wires directly to an input on the AUXBEAM here. And then I eliminate all of that wiring. Same thing with the new HALOS. So I've spoken to NOVSIGHT about this, and they've confirmed that if I was to take the actual connector that's going to the light itself and cut it off right as it goes into the control module, there's 4 wires in here. There's a power and a ground, and then there's the 2 wires that control the 2 different colors of halo. So I can run those to 3 different switches. So I have the amber halo, the clear halo, and then the main LED itself, and I don't need any of this excess wiring here. So I'm really hoping that that'll work out, and I'll get this mounted up. Like I said, it's not going to be a full install video, but I'm going to show you how it mounts in there, and I'll start connecting things and get those lights wired up and show you how it goes. So this is how it looks all mounted up. So you can see I got the bracket mounted in there just with a couple self-tapping screws, and because I wasn't able to access the screw holes anymore to mount the control module to the bracket, I just used a bunch of the 3M VHB tape, which is their industrial grade tape, this stuff here. It's really strong adhesive. So I just put a whole bunch on the bracket there, and it's rock solid. Like this whole mount is really solid in that spot there. It's elevated up off the fuel tank, and then I have lots of space here to run the wires down. And when the cover's on, it'll just click on just like that there and tuck away perfectly. I've already test fit it with that plastic piece back on top. Doesn't interfere at all. So I'm really happy with that. Turned out there. You can see there's lots of space. I can fit my whole hand underneath it there. So any water or anything, it is waterproof, but this way any water and stuff can just drain away. So that's it for what I wanted to show here. I'm just going to get it all wired up, and I'm not going to really show too much of that, and then I'll show you how it turns out in the end. So stick around for that. Hey guys, so I pretty much wrapped up the install. I've got everything mounted, everything's working, and I gotta tell you, it turned out quite a bit better than I thought it would. These AUXBEAM switch panels, if you watched my trailer video from a while back, I put one in my trailer. This is my second one that I've got here. I'm really impressed with it. It really helps tidy everything up and make wiring of additional accessories so much easier than having to install additional switches and wiring. So let me show you what I've done. So in that space that I was talking about, everything's mounted up there, and you can see now, so you have your main power and ground. This wire here is your controller wire, and then this is a 12-volt ignition switched wire. So the switch panel will only work when the machine is running or when the ignition is turned on. These wires coming in the bottom here are for my accessories. So I have my light bar, my pod lights, and then the 2 different color halos. So I'm using up 4 of the switches right now, and you can see I still have 4 additional switches. So anything that I want to add in the future now is so easy. I just need to run the wire into this area here. So I'll take off the panel that will be sitting here, 8 screws, that's off, wire in positive and negative, and that's all there is to it aside from mounting whatever the accessory is. I don't have to run any additional switches or any additional relays or anything like that. Everything's built in here. And then what I've done here is this is where I decided to mount the relay. Now it came with, this is the relay that came with the AUXBEAM switch. It's a 60 amp. I had an 80 amp just kicking around, and the reason I used the one that I already had is because mine specifies on it that it's waterproof. This one doesn't specify, it doesn't have any markings on it at all. So although they rate the whole switch panel as waterproof, I wasn't sure whether that relay was or not, and just being in the area it is. I just wanted to be better safe than sorry. So I did use my existing relay, and all I did, this wire coming off the positive terminal here, covered in the loom, I notched out the plastic there and then drilled a hole through here so that it was able to feed through. Nicely run there, and looks really clean. So I'm really happy with this whole area here, how it turned out. And then to finish it off, the cap just goes, or the lid just goes on top there, and that's it. So that'll sit there, and then this trim piece will sit back on top, and no one even knows that it's there. It's totally out of the way. It's high enough that it should be out of the water most of the time, unless I end up going really deep, but easy enough to pop this off when I want to add an accessory in the future. If I want to do rock lights or something like that, it makes it really easy to do. So the switch panel itself, I mounted right there, and all I've done here is the 3M VHB 2-sided adhesive is holding the panel on, and then I just drilled a hole in the back for the wire to run through. So I'll show you what that looks like on the back there. So you can see, hopefully you can see under there, just a hole, and then there's a quick connect right there. So if I need to take this trim piece off, just pop it off and I can disconnect the switch panel right there. And I'll walk you around the other side, actually just to show you what I've been able to get rid of. So this is the wiring that was with the light bar, so the relay and the switch. This is the control module and switch and fused wiring that came with the halo lights. So I was able to get rid of all this and tidy it up and just have that switch box there. So I'll show you around the other side here how I did the wiring. So everything right now is this exposed wiring here. I'm going to put some loom on that and tidy it up, and then strap it to the hoses or some other parts in here, but that's how it all looks there. This red wire here is the ignition, the switched ignition wire. So on your machine, if I find it here, there's a connector that is attached to this metal plate here, and it just sits there. It was clipped on. That's an accessory. It's a 12-volt accessory switched ignition connector. So all I did is I cut the wires off that and soldered in my 12-volt ignition wire to the switch, and that's where I'm getting that 12-volt. I didn't have to run all the way to the fuse panel to find a 12-volt switched ignition. And then I'll show you how it all works. Right now, so as I said, it is switched. So when I turn the machine on, you'll see the switch panel come on. The RGB switch panel that they sent me gives me a whole bunch of choice as far as colors for the switches, so I can change it to an infinite number of colors. If you didn't want to spend that much money on these switch panels, they're not expensive, but the RGB ones are more expensive than if you just bought like a green or a blue backlit. So if you're looking to save a little bit of money and didn't need like Bluetooth control, then go with the lower model and just pick a color that you like. Whereas the RGB has the app and you can change the colors. So what I'll show you here is right now switch 1, I'll see on the door there. So that's my light bar. Switch 2 is the halo lights, the main LEDs. Switch 3, you can sort of maybe see in the reflection on the window, is the amber halos. And switch 4 is the clear halos. But what's cool about these is the app that they come with. So this is the app here. So I'll show you from the front now, just so you can see these halos, because these NOVSIGHT halos are probably the coolest off-road lights that I've seen. So I have my switch panel right here. So again, if I hit the first one, there's the light bar, turn that off. Switch 2 is the main LEDs, that's the flood and spot combo. And then there's the amber halos. So I think that's the way I'm gonna run it most of the time, but then I can turn that one off and do a clear halo. So depending on, the look of your machine or your vehicle, if you're putting this on a Jeep or truck or your car, and you already had halos and you wanted to match them with either amber or clear, then you can do that. And then with this AUXBEAM app, so here's all the different colors that you can use for, or that you can choose for the backlighting. You can also increase or decrease the brightness. And then you can go in and change the icon on here. So it comes with these labels here. So that's the package that you get. You can buy additional labels, and I'm going to get a different set that has the halo labels on it. But on the app itself, you can name them whatever you want, or you can put pictures in there. And then you can also change, and that's what's nice about the RGB. I don't know if you can do this on the model down, the switch panel, but you can change the function of each button. So right now it's just toggle on and off. So when you push the button, it's on, you push it again and it's off. You can also change it to momentary. So if you were using it for a horn or something like that, then it would just work like, as long as you hold it down, it would be on, and then when you take your finger off, it would release. And then there's a pulsed. So if you wanted to use it to make a light strobe or flash, then you could change the switch to pulse, and then the lights when you turn them on would flash. So a bunch of different functions it has, and then you can group as well. So if you had some lights that you only wanted like these two lights to come on always together, then you could group them together, and then when you just turn one of them on, they both come on. And once you set them on the app, they work the same on the switch panel. So that's just a quick rundown, and what I'll show you on here as well is you do have a master on off. So if I did have, say, the light bar and the halos going, and then I came to oncoming traffic or something like that and wanted to turn everything off quickly, then there's a main on-off button in the middle here. You can push that and it turns everything off, and then when you push it again, it brings back whatever you had on in the first place. So that's a good option for turning things on and off together if you're always going to be turning them on and off together, or just if you're coming up on traffic or something and needed to shut everything down. And the last thing I want to cover for the sort of the waterproofness of this whole setup, it is rated, I know, for the brain itself is waterproof. Everything is sealed. The switch panel, they say not to leave it, not to submerge it. And if you're going to use it in the rain or for car wash and stuff like that, they recommend using this silicone cover that they send with it. So I'm going to install that and just leave it on all the time, because we are going through a fair bit of water and stuff, and I just don't want to chance the switch panel getting damaged. So it's nice that they send you that piece as well, and just sort of gives you peace of mind that the whole thing's can handle the water and the elements. All right, so that's going to pretty much wrap up the video, guys. If you are looking to install switches in your machine, you're adding lights or accessories, I strongly recommend looking into these AUXBEAM panels. They make a world of difference with how clean the install can be, the ease of installation, and adding things in the future. It just makes everything so much nicer and so much cleaner in the end. And if you're interested in lights, light bars, halos, anything like that, check out NOVSIGHT. I'll leave the links in the description, both for the AUXBEAM and for the NOVSIGHT lights. I've done a couple of videos in the past with the NOVSIGHT. They make an awesome product and they're very reasonably priced. So these Halos, like I said, they're some of the coolest lights I've ever seen. So check them out. There is a discount code as well, JOR25 for NOVSIGHT. I'll leave that in the description. That'll get you about 20% off as well. So check it out. I'll link to everything in the description. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're not already, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys.